machine comes with a manual, and Ayurveda is regarded as manual for a machine that we know as human body. It is an ancient system of medicine that has been practiced for 5,000 years. The practice of Ayurveda offers numerous benefits, and it's important to learn about them in order to lead an optimum life or optimal life. And I am happy to have with me a rare Ayurvedic doctor, Manjiri Nadkarni, to tell us more about the possibilities of Ayurveda in respect to women's health. I'm calling Dr. Manjiri as rare as she has undergone an extensive 8.5 years in integrated Ayurvedic medical training in India, along with further training in modern holistic nutrition. She is an expert of chronic digestive disorders, which I believe is the root cause of most of our ailments at any point of our life. So welcome everyone to the Thrive In Perimenopause Summit. This is your awesome host, Sonal Singhal. And I'm all set to start my conversation on your behalf with Dr. Manjiri. So let's welcome Dr. Manjiri. And it's so good to see you again, and this time on Thrive In Perimenopause Summit.
Thanks so much. Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. So Manjiri, last time when I interacted with you, I came to learn that Ayurvedic perspective is quite different from the conventional medicine practices. So could you please explain to our viewers the fundamentals of this ancient holistic science? And in general, I'm asking you, like, how do you diagnose an imbalance or a disorder in a human body as per Ayurveda?
So in Ayurveda, we go for a whole systems perspective. And in whole person's perspective literally means that, you're not just seeing menopause from the lens of hormones. You're going to look at everything around it as well, right? So you may have some women, they go through, emotional issues during perimenopause. Some women go through physical issues during perimenopause. In my clients, I've seen, or in my patients, I've seen that some women will complain of depression. Suddenly that starts around the age of 40, and where their hormones are fluctuating, but they may not have any other signs at the time. Similarly, some women will come to you with hot flashes or night sweats, nausea. Their immunity gets really lowered, So there are so many different ways perimenopause can show up in women. And in the modern lens, you're always looking at the hormones. How are the hormones? Are they changing or not? And certain signs and symptoms, but not everybody fits into that model of, okay, these are the classical signs going to be seen in every woman. So that's where Ayurveda looks at. And what whole systems mean that we look at an individual from his body, mind, spirit. We also look at the sensory, how are they attaching to the external world, their social life, are they happy, right? So we don't only look at health. So in Ayurveda, we look at sukha, which is like being in a good space, being happy, as well as swastha means situated in yourself, that you're healthy. And Ayurvedic definition of health is very different than the modern conventional definition of health, where you don't have any disease, that means you're healthy. In Ayurveda, we say that samadosha, which is your bioenergies, have to be balanced. Sama agni, which means your metabolic fire, your digestive fire should be balanced. Samadhatu malakriya. So all your body tissues are dhatus, they should be in a balanced state. The malas or waste products, they should be balanced as well as all your activities should be balanced. And prasanna atma indriya manaha swastha iti abhidhiyate. So prasanna means you're happy, you feel lively in your soul, your senses, your mind, right? And that is the definition of swastha, that you're really healthy. So if you are somebody who's struggling emotionally, again, you are not 100% healthy from an Ayurvedic context. If you have, some imbalances happening where they may not contribute to a diagnostic disease, but because you're not feeling your 100%, you're not feeling your optimal, you have minor aches and pains, or you have excess fatigue, that itself will say that, okay, you are not a healthy person from an Ayurvedic perspective. So that answers one part of your question.
Yeah. So I am just wondering, like, how do you diagnose, just by talking to a person, or you ask them to go for some testing?
So in Ayurvedic context, the doshas that I talked about first, the bioenergies. So everybody has these three bioenergies called Vata, Pitta, Kapha, and they are formed by the five elements around us, or the Panchamahabhutas. So Vata is the energy of the wind, and it can be expressed in our body through any kind of movement, movement within the body as well as our movement outside. So when you're walking, you're moving, that is an expression of Vata. Your digestive processes where the movement takes from one part to the other, breathing, respiration, circulation, all these movements will be under the realm of Vata dosh. The second one is Pitta dosh, where your vision, your digestion, metabolism comes under the realm of Pitta dosh, which can be similar to, the sun or the fire in the external environment. And we talk about Kapha as something that's a glue, that's the nurturing substance holding the body together. That can be understood as the moon-like energy which nurtures the world, right? So this Vata, Pitta, Kapha are doshas, which means they have to be balanced at all times. And that is the first thing we will assess when a person visits us. Now, again, when dosha assessment, we look at the Prakriti, which is the innate nature. So people have pre-formed, dominances of certain doshas. An example is, you could be Vata dominant or Pitta dominant or Kapha dominant, and that makes your body mind type, right? And there are so many women who have taken quizzes online on the Ayurvedic body type quiz, for example, so we're trying to determine what's your baseline, what's normal to you. So I will go through a questionnaire that will help me ascertain that how your doshas are when they're in a state of balance. So again, I'll try to give some examples to make it a bit clear. So people who are very intuitive, right? So who can connect, who are very creative, who can think outside the box, who never have trouble with weight, they have trouble gaining weight, not losing weight, always cold, always dry in the body. A lot of these women we can find near yoga studios because yoga really helps them calm down and ground. That is a classical Vata type personality. Pitta type personality is somebody who's a very A type personality, who's very, wants to be in control, who's very intelligent, who can be masters in their field, who can be naturally good leaders, right? But their bodies are going to be hot. They will be angry easily, right? They're quick to temper. They don't mince their words when it comes to, they will say it as it is. They're not going to sugarcoat it. So that is the classical Pitta type personality. And a Kapha type personality is a person who is a nurturer, who always takes care of everybody around them, who is very resilient. They don't fall sick, but they always struggle with weight no matter what. They have larger, broader bones. So a Kapha personality is somebody that will try to maintain harmony, in their environment. They don't like conflict. They don't like too much activities. So like while a Vata is always going to be hiking, a Kapha is going to be a couch potato or reading or doing some kind of a, sedentary work. So I know you're laughing.
I'm laughing because I'm thinking of some batch flower remedies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So the Kapha type. So my tendency, like an example is, my dominant tendencies are I'm a Kapha Pitta type of personality. So physically, my body, like my round face or, complexion is very clear. So that is very Kapha type. But at the same time, like my ambition, everything comes from the Pitta, where it's fiery, where I have to like overachieve, that drive is there. So that's the Pitta. So we assess these first, because whatever is dominant, you're also prone to imbalances from that. Whatever is dominant, right, can go out of balance easily. So for a Vata type personality, the most conditions they struggle with is going to be related to joints. It's going to be related to their nervous system. And again, when we look at women who are Vata dominant, and when they go through perimenopause, they will usually have a lot of anxiety, right? Or they will complain of excess dryness of the skin. They will complain of feeling scattered, not being able to focus, extremely tired. They start losing weight rapidly without any cause. So these are the presentations you will see in a woman during menopause if it's related to Vata. Now, pitta related women during menopause can, there will be excess heat, hot flashes will be pronounced. They will be angry, irritable, ready to bite somebody's head off, and extremely cranky as well during perimenopause, because it's the pitta that heats up the body. And in some women, you will see excess bleeding through the, uterus. So the periods will be much longer. There will be clotting. There can be extremely heavy periods. You will be really tired, you will lose a lot of blood, you will develop anemia. So that's the pitta imbalance that can happen. And in kapha body type, if you don't take care of that kapha, balance it right away during menopause, what can happen is, you will start experiencing weight gain, you may experience depression, you may experience, like lots of water retention, uh, really frustration, or you'll just feel stuck, right? So that's a very kapha type. So when a person comes to me for any health conditions, the first thing I look for is their prakriti. What is your baseline? What is the normal status of doshas in you, how it's supposed to be, and where is the imbalance? And in Ayurveda, we have different assessment tools, like the questionnaire is called, the Prashna Pariksha, where I'll ask you a lot of questions, but I will look at your body. I will try, like once I look at people, I can read them like a book, based on the Ayurvedic 5 elements and 3 doshas. So what your body type is, where is the deviation? Then we can look at the tongue. The tongue will map out your digestion, that what's happening in the digestive process, is there too much heat in the system? Even the tongue can say that. Is there a long-term anxiety? Has there been any trauma? The tongue will give answers to that. I look at the nails as well, so that will help me understand the digestion, absorption of nutrients. We ask questions about bowel movement, about stools, so we know that the excretory systems of the body are working well as well. So these are some kind of questions that I will ask a person. If a woman visits me in my clinic, then I can also do pulse examination. We call it Nadi Pariksha, which is one of the specialties of Ayurveda. So we try to determine the status of the doshas, the status of the body tissues from the pulse, and what is going on right now, So these are some tests that we will do as an Ayurvedic doctor.
It's very thorough, I say, and that you have like lots of tools, and there are so many subtle things, that as a doctor, you know what to do.
Yeah.
So, Manjiri, what type of medicines you use in Ayurveda, and what are they made of?
So, again, this question is very diverse, because I practice in Canada. So I have some limitations in Canada, right? But in Ayurveda, if I'm looking all over Ayurveda, see, there is nothing in the world that cannot be used as medicine from an Ayurvedic perspective, right? So we do use, in India, we can use certain rasaushadis are, aushadis made up of, or medicines made up of even heavy metals, right? But we are binding them together, and they will act as a catalyst, or they will have a specific action, and they don't get deposited in your body. So rasaushadis are used widely, minerals are used widely, herbs are used widely. There are different therapies that you can do, external therapies, you can do oil massages, we call it abhyanga. Swedan is sudation or fermentation, where you have a steam bath, and the herbs the steam can be herbal steam, or it can be dry steam, however, or it can be through sand, whatever is required. There are the 5 main procedures, we call it panchakarma. So MSS, is Vaman therapy, Virechana is purgation, then there are different kind of enemas. We will do bloodletting, we will do
lots of
nasal drops. Yeah, so Ayurveda is vast, right? I've studied it for 8.5 years. I still study it. Like, I think I'll always learn Ayurveda. So there are wide therapies, there are diet therapies. So in my practice, because of the limitations in Canada, heavy metals are absolutely or metal containing compounds are not allowed here. So I use diet and nutrition, like that's my niche is, I'll try to modify your diet. I'll try to modify your lifestyle, make it in accordance with your body, like what your body requires right now.
Mhm.
And then I use simple herbs or herbal formulations that I can find in Canada. And then certain body therapies, I will ask you, I'll give you all the information, I'll give you sheets on it, and I'll ask you to do it. And they work fantastic,
I'm
especially in
sure.
women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Manjari, one question, like why should one opt for Ayurveda, particularly in perimenopause?
So, if you want to heal by understanding the root cause of your health issues, right? See, there is a misconception that perimenopause or menopause need treatment, right? Perimenopause is a natural stage in life, just how puberty is a natural, progression where we, as women, we mature, then our hormones start getting activated, then we have reproductive years of the life, and then the hormones start waning eventually, right? So it's a natural stage of life. When you need treatment is when things are out of balance, right? And a lot of the approaches that I've seen, especially the Western medical approaches, that, oh, you have a problem, like let's do hormone replacement therapy. Oh, you have a problem, let's put you on birth control pills, right? So artificial hormones are not the solution. I have so many patients coming to me who have taken HRT, but it has not worked for them, right? Because you're not treating the root cause, you're not finding out where the imbalance is, even though you make the proper combinations of whatever hormones are low, why are the hormones waning, right? And in today's world, we see women struggling with perimenopause way earlier.
Yeah.
It can be, start at 40 or 35, and it can take 10 years, for you to go into full blown menopause, right? And even the age of menopause, I've had patients in their 35s who have attained menopause, which is really like early
Sad.
menopause.
Very sad.
Yeah. And see, women's hormones are not only important for her physical well-being, they are extremely important for her emotional well-being. I'm 100% sure you agree with this because
Yes.
I think a lot of your, patients that you will see for Bach flower remedies are, going through severe emotional issues related to perimenopause, right? So our hormones are protective to our body. And again, from a medical perspective, till the time you have your hormones, you're immune to heart attacks for most part, So as long as women have their hormones, we have 50% less heart attacks than men. But as soon as you hit menopause, women are twice likely to have a heart attack than men, right? So the protective action of the hormone goes away. And in perimenopause, with certain Ayurvedic herbs, you can prolong the action of your hormones. You can have natural herbs that will activate your hormones, that will act like your hormones, so that you don't reach menopause early, right? At the same time, we do dietary therapies, we do lifestyle therapies. So I'm looking at a whole person, not just your hormones or not just your uterus or not just, fine tuning on one thing. So we look like a whole person, like emotionally what's going on, physically what's going on.
And if that is the case, you also don't focus on this term perimenopause as such, is it?
No, not specifically on perimenopause, because what exactly is going on? See, there is so much information online today that people will look at symptoms. Oh, I think I'm going through perimenopause, and it may not be perimenopause too, right? It could be certain imbalances caused by your not following a good diet, not following a good lifestyle. An example is, we talked about Vata Pitta Kapha. So a very common thing that everybody does today is, binge on Netflix, you're spending sleepless nights, or your friend visits and you stay up till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock at night. That will lead to Vata aggravation, right? So one day, if you're spending a sleepless night, that may aggravate it a little bit, but for certain women who can't sleep at all, insomnia is there. And that itself is a result of Vata aggravation. Vata is too high, that's why you're not sleeping, but not sleeping is further aggravating the Vata, right? Similarly, in the Western world, especially North America, like fermented foods are big right now. Everybody talks about kombucha, kefir,
Yeah.
kimchi, right?
Kimchi.
Yeah. So fermented foods will increase the pitta. So
That's
if you
what I
have,
also feel. But everybody is talking about this. I'm like, Even I got little bit of kimchi and I tried, but I cannot have it more. And I was thinking it is somewhat similar to our Indian pickles.
Yeah, yeah. So even with the Indian pickles, right? Like we eat pickle in this quantity,
Yeah.
like really small quantity, just as an appetizer. And here, because it's good, people start eating kimchi by spoonful. You make kimchi fried rice, everything kimchi. Or you're drinking bottles and bottles of kombucha, right? So that will increase your pitta, and
Yeah.
that will heat up your liver as well. And that will create you to be more angry, more frustrated, have a lot of hot flashes, especially if you're pitta dominant, right?
Mhm.
Or having a pitta dominant diet like kefir, kombucha, kimchi. Similarly, if you start eating heavy foods,
Mhm.
keto again is popular diet here
Mhm.
nowadays, right?
Mhm.
People will drink tons of cream and, they want to lose weight. So that's why they do keto. But the fact is, they're drinking cream, eating lots of cheeses and lots of red meat, right? And these heavy foods for a kapha type personality, they will clog your channels and bog you down,
Mhm.
right? So then you may start experiencing certain things like, water retention, weight gain. Keto does not work for everyone, right? There is a myth it
Yeah.
works for everyone. So in such circumstances, you have to find what did I do that's creating the problem, and that is how I will receive, like, find out a solution that is permanent.
Mhm. Mhm.
um, just replacing the hormones is not a permanent solution.
Okay. And like, are there any key factors that impact your health and well-being during perimenopause?
So the three key factors that Ayurveda talks about is ahar, nidra, and brahmacharya, right? So
Mhm.
again, brahmacharya, I'll describe each individually, but there is like a little bit controversy around it, right? So ahar is food, right? So
Mhm.
anything that you bring in your body has a potential to work as a medicine or to work as a poison. If you're eating food that is really good for you, it's compatible to your body, you're eating in the right quantity, it will be really the best thing for you.
Mhm.
But at the same time, if you're eating food just because it's the new diet now, or somebody told you that it's good for you, or your friend is trying a new diet, or you saw it on TV, right?
Yeah.
It may not work for you. Protein shakes, example, again, very common, protein bars. And this is everything I see in my practice, right?
Mhm.
So these are cheap, easy foods that you think will work for you, but they don't have any life force, they don't have any prana, they are really low from a vibrational standpoint.
Mhm.
And even though you'll fill your stomach with it, your senses are not going to be satisfied, your mind is not going to be satisfied. If you eat lots of fermented foods, kefir, kombucha, we talked about that, it is a rajasic, it will stimulate you, but it can also create that anger, aggression, right?
Mhm.
So this is when the food is working against you. But if you eat natural foods that are grown close to you, everything's clean, you're cooking it yourself with lots of love, and certain foods are compatible to your body, right? Then you will get the maximum benefit from food. So number one thing is dietary corrections and aligning your diet in a way that it's perfect for you. And usually this is where an Ayurvedic doctor comes into place,
Mhm.
right? So wherever you are, if you're listening to this, find an Ayurvedic doctor and get a dietary plan from them. They will
Mhm.
tell you exactly what to eat, what not to eat. And this is not a restrictive diet. This is not that, eat salads 24/7. We don't believe in that. We will align the diet exactly on what your body requires. So
Mhm.
you have your diet sorted out. Second one is nidra, which means sleep or rest,
Mhm.
right? So rest is essential, and we are often overworked. And as women, we try to do it all. I know we were having this conversation just before we started our interview as to how ambition plays a role in women and how busy we can get, right? So having proper times of rest is important. Having a good night's sleep is important, because our body clock is built along with the nature. When the sun is at rise, that's when you have to wake up. And when the sun sets is when you need to go to bed. You can't change the body clock. It will create a lot of problems for you, and that's also seen in shift workers, right?
Mhm.
So if for any medical cause, or you're not sleeping well, if you have anxiety, you can't sleep, if you have insomnia, you can't sleep, get the treatment for it, and then you have to be able to get those restful hours at night, and it has to be a deep sleep. It shouldn't be that, oh, I wake up every single hour. That's
Yeah.
not deep sleep, right? So nidra or sleep is the second thing you need to take care of. And third is brahmacharya. So brahmacharya by some people is translated as abstinence from sexual activity, or some people talk about it as energy management, managing your energies, because sexual energy is the most potent form of energy. And brahmacharya, one of the best translations I've heard is, to be like the creator, to wake up when it's the time to wake up, to really tune into your body, understand what's required for your body, and behave accordingly. When you're hungry, eat. If you're
Mhm.
not hungry, don't eat,
Mhm.
right? That, and managing your energy, because everything in the world is all about energy exchange. So how much energy do you put into a certain thing? So you have to, from a brahmacharya aspect, being in tune with your body, managing your energy expenditure wisely is what you need to do. So these are the key factors for anyone and everyone, especially during perimenopause: food, sleep, and energy management.
Are the key factors.
Yeah. Yeah.
Manjiri, are there any specific Ayurvedic strategies to support our perimenopausal health?
So the number one thing I talk about is diet, right?
Mhm.
So I'll talk about the first three key factors during perimenopause. So again, perimenopause, if you are struggling with your food, one of the simple tip that I can give you is always eat to the 2/3 of your capacity, right?
Mhm.
So your stomach, it should be like, okay, I can have two more bites. I'm
Mhm.
not super full. So that's 2/3 capacity of your stomach, and you have to sit in a calm, quiet place. You have to chew your food well and eat what you truly like, you know,
Mhm.
not what you're craving at a certain point of time. During perimenopause, a lot of my patients will be like, all I want to eat is sugar,
Mm.
right? Or all I want to eat is chocolate. But are you really, really wanting that sweet sugar or chocolate? Or are you craving something that is really nourishing?
Mhm.
Right? So make sure the foods you're eating are nourishing to you.
Mhm.
They have to be compatible to you. And there is a freebie that, I'm giving everybody called the Ultimate Dosha Guide. In that, we will talk about foods for Vata, foods for Pitta, foods for Kapha dominant, and what not to eat. So everything, vegetables, fruits, lentils, like what you should be eating, what you should be avoiding will be in the guide there. So try to eat in an Ayurvedic way, try to eat foods that your body requires, try to eat 2/3 of capacity. And those points, if you follow in terms of diet, it will help you really well.
Mhm.
Second point, when it comes to sleep, having a regular sleep schedule is important, right? So do not reserve your bed for doing work in the bed or
Watching
watching TV.
TV. Mhm.
Yeah. When, or scrolling your phone or browsing phone, right? When you go to sleep, set a time, make sure you're sleeping. One simple night routine you can do is, you can take some oil, coconut oil,
Mhm.
and rub the soles of your feet before you go to bed, and that will give you a good night's sleep, right? That will help you keep grounded, and that will make you sleep well. So that is something you can do for your night routine and
Mhm.
for sleep. Third one is, as I talked about, energy management, right? Or we talked in context of, brahmacharya. So you have to, one thing is, try to set a schedule for yourself. Your body absolutely loves routine. So eat at the same time every day. Go to bed at the same time every day. Wake up at the same time every day, right? So your
Mhm.
body will have some certainty in this uncertain world. The world is rapidly changing. Your world throughout menopause is rapidly changing because you're going through so many different emotions, so many things you get very worked up on, which you don't even know what they're all about. But if
Mhm.
you keep this routine, you will see that your body is balanced. You will see a lot of calmness to your body. Your body will start feeling a little bit certain, a little bit more aligned.
Mhm.
Those three main things, the diet, sleep, energy management is important. The fourth is an Ayurvedic concept that we talk about is Agni. So we
Mhm.
always look at Agni So Agni, in the ancient ages, if you've seen certain rituals where you make offering to the fire, right? So every time you eat, you're making an offering to the fire inside your body. And the digestive fire is going to support all the other fires in the body, right?
Mhm.
If you process your food well, you will process your emotions well as well. And that has been usually seen in, lots of patients today, that they cannot process experiences of life. You can get stuck on a certain event that happened, stuck on a certain emotion that happened, and usually those women will have some digestive symptoms. You can complain of bloating, you can complain of gas, constipation, diarrhea, pain in the stomach. So what you have to do is always focus on your digestion. Always make sure you're enhancing your digestion. Simple thing is 2/3 capacity of your stomach is what you eat, and be mindful of how that food is interacting with your fire, right? So if you eat an apple, does your body like the apple or not? Are you being able to digest the apple or not, right? If you eat maybe meat, are you digesting it, are you not digesting it? That is the determining factor. And your sign of a good digestive fire is you should be hungry at proper intervals,
Mhm.
and the food that you eat should not sit heavy.
Mhm.
You shouldn't be hungry in the next hour, right? And even the digestion, the bowel movement should be regular, at least 1 to 2 times a day, and not with any stress. So that's a sign that your Agni is functioning very well. And
Mhm.
then you should be of a moderate weight, you should not be too heavy or too, skinny. So these are signs that your digestion is working. So Agni or your fire will talk everything about your digestion. So manage your Agni, right?
How
And
do
the
you how do you measure, or how do you get an idea about somebody's Agni? Again, from the questionnaire, or
usually in the consultation, I will ask questions like, how often are you hungry? Are you
Mhm.
hungry 3 times a day, or what happens? Do you eat at regular times? Can you eat the quantity of food digested? If you overeat, what's going to happen? Are you going
Mhm.
to be bloated, constipated? So that will give me an idea of the Agni. So through certain questions, and then if the Agni or your burner is how I explain it, imagine you're cooking on stove top, right? So a weak Agni is a burner set at 2, right? So if you
Mhm.
have a big pot of rice, it's going to take 6 hours to cook it, right? So if your burner is set at 2 and you're eating too much, it's going to take a long time to cook or digest.
Mhm.
And then you end up eating more and more because it's the time to eat, because you're not hungry, but okay, it's 3 o'clock, it's my lunchtime, or it's 6 o'clock, it's my dinner time, right? So the burner set at 2 will then create more imbalances in the body. At the same time, if your burner is very erratic, which is seen in vata dominant people, that sometimes the burner is at 8 where I'm super hungry, I can digest everything that I'm eating, and sometimes I don't feel like eating, I'm not hungry at all, right? So we
Mhm.
have to correct this Agni. For pitta, the burner is perpetually set at 8 or 10 where you're hungry all the time and you can digest food easily,
Mhm.
right? And even heavy foods will be digested fast sometimes when your digestive fire is sharp. So we have to make sure that proper quantity food you digest at proper times. So it should not make you tired,
Mhm.
how we understand that your Agni is working well. We also look for physical signs, like I'll look for luster of your skin,
Mhm.
so how, because the food we eat is making our body tissues. So how are the tissues formed? Do you have good muscle mass? Are you really weak? Do you have excess fat, or do you have really low fat in the body, right? So that the texture of the skin, the luster of the skin will give me an idea of your Agni as well. And it is one of the most important things from an Ayurvedic perspective. Uh, the fifth one is the mind and the senses. I try to group them together. So we talked about diet, sleep, energy, everything. So senses are something, that is a missing link in the modern holistic world. In holistic nutrition, when I studied, everybody talks about the body, mind, spirit, right? What is connecting that body
Mind and spirit.
Your mind as well as spirit is the senses, right? And in Ayurveda we talk about it as indriyas, or the senses which make you experience the world, but they
Mhm,
can also cause physical as well as mental health related issues,
mhm,
and they can keep you healthy or unhealthy. Most common example, social media. In some people, they will see, oh my god, she bought a house, oh my god, she bought this, or she's going ahead, and then you get very much anxious, right? Sometimes you see certain events around the world happen which you can't control and you get really angry, right? So every time you look at a social media, you're feeding your vision, you're also feeding your mind. Every
mhm,
time you hear the news, you're feeding your ears, you're also feeding your mind. Every time you talk about different things, right, even from a speech perspective, or you're feeding different things. Taste wise, if you keep indulging only in sugar, right,
mhm.
that's you're misusing your taste sense. So these are all like different senses that have to be consumed in
Yeah.
moderation as well.
It's like,
Yeah,
we are gifted with these things, but we are not using them for the purpose they are given to us
yeah.
somewhere.
And see, senses, the whole job of the senses is to connect with the object of sense.
Mhm,
So in Bhagavad Gita, there is a description that the horses that run, right, are like the senses are constantly running after the object. So the mind has to control the senses, but our mind is out of control
mhm,
often, right? So simple things like meditation, especially in yoga there is this pranayam, which is lengthening the span of your breath, that will control the mind. So when you control your breath, you can control your mind, and
mhm.
when you control your mind, only then can you control your senses. Otherwise, you will always binge on Netflix. Otherwise, your mind, people say that, oh, I'm too weak in my mind, or I don't have a strong
Mm.
resolve, I can't break this bad habit, right? So you have to strengthen the mind first to be able to detach that oversensory use. And to strengthen the mind, the best thing you can take help is breath. Breath is very powerful. Prana, something like alternate nostril breathing.
Mhm.
You can start doing it for 2 to 3 minutes every day, and that will align your left right brains and bring you back to center. And that is another simple Ayurvedic tool that you can start implementing.
And I think it will help with hormones also, because you're balancing your yin and yang from the
Yeah,
nostrils.
yeah, most definitely. And like, see, take, if like, for those who are watching this, take one thing from each interview, this
Yeah,
interview, everything that you're going to, and start implementing it. Don't just write your notes and forget about it, right?
yeah,
So
that's
bring
true.
one thing today into your practice, and then you practice the same thing tomorrow, same thing tomorrow, and keep practicing it. And then you can add another layer.
That's true. So, Manjiri, because Ayurvedic medicines are herbs and sometimes heavy metals also, but you're not giving those in Canada. So, when we are taking these medicine, do we need to avoid certain type of foods?
So usually, you have to eat a lighter diet that is easy to digest. And the reason is because the herb or the medicine has to be digested as well, right?
Mhm,
So if you are eating food and if you're not digesting the food, there are not many chances you're going to digest the herb. If you
mhm,
eat heavy food, all your digestive energy is going to go into digesting the food,
mhm,
right? So eat a light food. Ideally, maybe not eat a lot of red meat at the time. Avoid alcohol, avoid smoking. If you like, mostly, alcohol should be avoided unless there are some asavas. In Ayurveda we use some fermented products as well, which call
mhm.
them asavarishta. They have some self-generated alcohol, 7 to 10%. So sometimes we'll give that, but other alcoholic beverages should be completely avoided. uh, Avoiding day sleep, napping at afternoon time, napping after eating, those are things to be avoided. And
Really?
extreme, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, if you're on Ayurvedic protocols. And
Uh-huh.
then salty sour foods,
Mm,
like too much pickles or papads, and because these can change your agni, right?
mm.
So these can create like excess pitta like situations in the body. This can create a lot of acid buildup in the body, and you may not be able to digest it well. Processed foods, like ideally protein shakes and stuff, if you can avoid, that would be beneficial when you're taking Ayurvedic medicines.
It has become a fashion, no? Protein shakes. It's easy to mix and
Everywhere,
eat.
protein shakes,
Yeah.
energy bars, right? Yeah.
So, Manjiri, if we take Ayurvedic remedies in conjunction with the allopathic medicine, do you think there will be some problem?
Again, this is a very good question, and this is also one reason why you should consult an Ayurvedic doctor when you're taking Ayurvedic herbs. See, today you can go to a store, and buy medicines and start using it because you read somewhere that, oh, it's good for anxiety, it's good for menopause, right? And you have no idea how many clients have come to me who have taken Shatavari because it's supposed to be good for menopause, but they had fibroids and the fibroids became worse, right? So again, Ayurvedic herbs are very potent and they're given to you considering everything. So they're not over the counter meds, and they can definitely interact with your allopathic medications, right? So when you go to an Ayurvedic doctor, you can tell them that I'm taking these medicines.
Medicines.
And usually what I tell my clients is, no, I'll first run a check that there is no interaction between the herb that I give you and the prescription drug you're taking. And second thing that I'll do is I'll ask you to take it at different times, at least 3 hours apart. Like don't take it together, but make sure it's not interacting, because herbs can interact with prescription medications. So always consult a doctor. Do not take it online. They are not like, they're found on Amazon, they're found everywhere, but they are potent herbs. They're not like a vitamin or a mineral that you can flush out of the body eventually.
So, are there any herbs like Shatavari you mentioned, but for example, say mint or chamomile? They
So
are
mint,
also.
chamomile, again with herbs, see, there is a difference of potency, right? Certain herbs, for example, are in Ayurveda, we call them rasayana herbs. So like amla, is a rasayana herb, and it will nourish all the tissue layers. Another common example I can give you is triphala. Like triphala is very commonly used combination of amla, haritaki, bibhitaki, and it is also a rasayan drug, but it's also given for laxative action. So people who are constipated will start taking it night time. And if you take it for a long time, one thing can happen is you get habituated to it. So the aushadhi or the medicine starts behaving like ahar. Right? It becomes like food. It doesn't have any special effect because you're consuming it every day. And second thing, for example, if it's a Vata dominant personality who's constipated and they keep taking Triphala for months, it will increase the dryness as well in the body. It can do that. So in Ayurveda, what I've talked today is very superficial, but when I do a consultation, I go into gunas, are you dry? Are you hot? Are you cold? Are you, like sharp? Like what do I see? So we go through 20 gunas as well in terms of different doshas. So the consult is very intense, Yeah.
I feel there is some similarity between astrology, Indian astrology, and Ayurveda. Is it that way? I mean,
They're
because you
all
are saying
sister.
guna.
Yeah. So they're saying they are all sister sciences. So Ayurveda yoga, Jyotish, at a certain point of time, an Ayurvedic doctor was supposed to know 8 types of different vidya, including Ayurveda. So Ayurveda is the knowledge of Ayurveda. Jyotish Vidya is the knowledge of Jyotish. Yoga, is another, yoga vidya is the knowledge of yoga, right? So at a certain point of time, and there are 5 more which I don't recall right now.
Yeah, it's okay.
But these, an Ayurvedic doctor had to know all of these, right? So the Ayurvedic doctor had to be the Ashtavidya Parangat, so like really proficient in all 8 vidyas, right? And there are lots of parallels, if you look at the grahas, or the
Planets.
planet is a very loose description for graha, because graha is the one that holds you, right, or seizes you. So there are definitely like actions of it on the dosha as well. So an example is Shani is very vata, aggravating. Mars is very pitta dominant, right? So we can talk about this for hours.
I know. I'm just trying to understand a little bit, because it's not that I'm going to get hold of you every day.
No, but
Yeah,
this is very interesting. So
yeah,
it's
very
all
good.
connected. The same thing, yoga is a sister science of Ayurveda, so you will find parallels between yoga and Ayurveda. Jyotish is a sister science of Ayurveda, so you'll find lots of parallels between Jyotish as well as Ayurveda. And I have some very good friends here in the Canadian Ayurvedic community who are expert in Jyotish as well.
Mhm,
I don't claim to be one. I've just done my basics there,
mhm.
but I have so many friends who are thorough with their Jyotish. Yeah.
So it was very interesting talking to you about Ayurveda, Manjari. And thank you for your time and educating us on the principles of Ayurveda. Even though I'm from India, I didn't have much knowledge about it. So definitely respect it, considering a lot of benefits of Ayurveda. I mean, it offers to all of us. And I'm so glad that I had you. Actually, I found you ready to talk on this important topic of women's health. So thank you again.
Oh, you're most welcome, and thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
Welcome.